This video is brought to you by the award-winning prop firm, Crest. All right, folks, here we are on Trading Up. We've got Derek Vanderlinde in the house. It's been a while. Welcome back to the show.
Hey, I appreciate you having me on. I'm excited to be here and, share a little bit of the knowledge I've gained in the last 3 or 4 years.
And look, I mean, it surprised me. Well, I kept hearing Derek's name pop up in the YouTube comments. People kept saying, you got to get Derek back on. And I didn't actually chase it up. Sorry about that, Derek. But we got you back on now because they were saying that you're getting ridiculous win rates with high risk to reward trades. And we're going to see a MyFX book at the end of this video. So stay tuned for that. But you're going to dive into something you said that you wanted to share with the audience and share with me, which is Trendlines, which I suppose let's just have a look at your screen and get on with it and see what you got to show. These magical trend lines.
Absolutely.
Crest is an award-winning prop firm that funds traders with up to $2 million and offers generous profit splits up to 90%. So one thing that really sets Crest apart is their no minimum trading days requirement on their challenge and verification stages. On top of that, traders who successfully pass the challenge and verification stages are eligible to receive a bonus payout of up to $30K on top of their funded stage profit split payout on performance. And be sure to use promo code TradingNut, all one word, to get 10% off your next challenge. Click the link in the description below or the card above to find out more. What Derek's going to show is, from what I understand, is the way that he draws them up in a way that they work very powerfully. And what were the actual stats on what you've done with your signals that you're giving away at the moment?
So we are 20. We opened up about 45 days ago. We're like 29 for 30. And
wow.
Our trade, there is many break evens. I think there's probably 5 or 6 break evens, or at least like a little bit of profit, because the way that I manage my trade is when I get the first area of confluence that goes against me, I put my stop loss in profit. And so sometimes that area of confluence will go against me and stop me out in profit. But I make sure that I protect myself so I don't take these losses and we don't take these losses. And it seems and I've been doing this for about the last 2 years now, the way that I manage my trades. But that is essentially what I'm doing. And then we took one loss. It was actually my loss. And I should have, it was in the middle of the night. I would have normally told people to put their stop in profit because we were up like 35, 40 pips, had a very major hidden divergence off a 50 moving average going against us. I was asleep, and so it actually came back from that hidden divergence and stopped us out. So it's one of those things where it wouldn't have been a loss, but it was a loss, and you got to count it.
You could have avoided it, but oh well, you're asleep.
Yeah.
And I think after almost 30 trades, it is a phenomenal number. So let's have a look. Show us what you do.
Okay, so with my trend lines, I like to cut through the market, right? I look for areas of the market where there is prices reacting. So for this one example, like this would be a trade that we'd call, and we do these trend line retests off of moving averages. Okay, let me get that better. So it'd be like that right there. So as you can see, price is obviously rejecting all throughout here on this trend line. We broke through. Now what we have, and this is a trade that we called, we have a trend line retest off this 200 moving average right here. And what I do is I take this buy right here, I take it to the nearest moving average, which would have been this 50, and that's where we close our trades out. Not only that, like at this 50, there's a clear area of confluence going against us. We have a trend line right here. So market rejects, comes there, obviously goes along with that confluence going against us. And let me zoom in there, and drops. Now, obviously, if we held it, we'd be in a lot more profit, but that's just how I manage my trades. I just get in, get out. And this is the 5-hour time frame.
That's a long time frame. Why are you looking at the 5 hours? Is it because it lined up better, or?
So I use honestly every time frame. Like if you look, I use every time frame because there's often time frames that are giving me a better clue of what's going on in the market. And I know it's hard for some people to manage that. For me, it's not. I've been doing this for 7-8 years now, so I can manage that. Like I do a run through every day on the charts, and I go on the time typically it'll be a top-down analysis, weekly down to 4 hour, 1 hour. And then sometimes, there's maybe it's close to a moving average on the 4 hour. I'll look at the 5 hour or the 6 hour, and it lines up perfectly to like the 50 hour or 50 moving average or 200 moving average on the 6 hour. So I'll utilize that. Now there's another thing that I do, and I think this is a trade setup that is absolutely crazy. We call it in our group, we call it the crisscross applesauce. Just because like if you ever get like a trendline retest with another area of confluence, like let's go like right here, for example, on this trade, this could have been another trade called right here. And I'm pretty sure this was actually a 1 hour shark fin on this trade, but we had market. There we go. We had market reject here. Now it broke through here, but it rejected here again. Now with this retest right here, I call this the crisscross. And when you get a crisscross like this, especially off of moving average, the market just rejects like crazy. Yeah. It's pretty stinking cool. And then we use, so like for this trade example, like I was asleep during this trade, but this would have been a trade I called just based on the 1 hour. If we bring our trend line right there, it was perfect. And we can bring that to the low right there. So rejection, came down to that trend line again. And then of course, off this retest as well, rejected. Now, if we look at this 1 hour time frame, we can see that we have the massive shark fin right here, which is obviously like one of the things I'm known for is trading these shark fins. And market just rejected that perfectly. So we would have typically took this to the 50 moving average. And so like if I were to mark up this trade, call this signal out, I'm going to buy off that trend line.
I'm going to take I was going to ask. So you are literally buying right where the trend line hits,
right off that trend line. I don't care what candle pattern it is.
Right, cool.
I just take the trade. Like,
wow.
Oops. So it'd be probably somewhere in there. And then I just make sure that my risk to reward is at least a 1 to 3. Sometimes we can get better. And there'll actually be some times we'll say, hey, we're going to close out half our position here. And then we're just going to put our stop and profit and let the market ride. We do that quite often. And then like, this is my favorite setup right here, trade setup.
Can I just ask before you go into that one, how do you get the alert to make sure you don't miss that? Like, because I mean, it might only be down there for a few minutes.
Absolutely. So what I'll do is I'll already have this marked up. So I'll right click, I'll add an alert here. And this is what I do with the group when we're looking for a potential trade. I'll set an alert before that trend line. And so like maybe the market's right here. Yeah. I want to see it drop, and I'll set this alert. It will give me enough time to analyze the trade, see if there's a better or something that's really telling me to get in the trade. Because typically what I want to see is confluence with my shark fin or hidden divergence or a divergence with all those confluences in the market. So like here, we obviously have some support right here. We obviously have some support if we look left. I guess not the best, but we do have a little bit of support here. A lot of the times it will line up perfectly with like a support turned resistance or anything like that. But that's typically what I do. Right. I get alerted, phone sends me a text, and then I'll analyze the trade, wait for the trade setup, set a buy limit on this one for the group. And, if I like the trade still, and they'll end up, taking the trade. And the thing is, like, I have A+ setups, B setups, and C setups. So if it's a A+ setup, I'll say, hey, let's risk 1.5% on this trade. B setup 1%, and then C setup, it's 0.5%. That's just how I do it. The A+ setups are like trades that I've rarely seen fail. And I'm just going to show you an example of an A+ setup that we had taken just, I want to say 2 or 3 weeks ago. So it's Euro GBP daily time frame. We have a massive area rejection in here. We have rejection here, market broke through, rejected. rejected. Now we got some rejections right here, which tells me a lot. Like this rejection tells me that this is an area of the market where it's super important. We ended up breaking through. Now this is where the key is on this trade. So when you get a retest like this off of a 50 moving average, we literally took the trade by off the 50 moving average. I've honestly never seen it not work. And it's pretty crazy. And this is something that I've been doing for the last, I want to say, 2 years, where I just discovered this retest off these trend lines. And especially when you have the moving average with it, it's insane. So this is how this trade was marked up. We took the buy right off that 50 moving average. I have my 1 to 3 risk reward. I put my take profit right here for this reason, because this is an area of confluence going against me. So that's where we took some profits here. We took some profits here. I think I took 25% here because there is actually on the lower time frames confluence going against me. We got this rejection, and then market just pushed up to full take profit. But that's typically what I will do. I will take these trades from confluence to confluence point. Every time there's a confluence going against me, I take a little bit off the table and, let the rest ride. But yeah, this trade was a super fun trade. I actually called it out I made a video about it on Instagram, like when it was right here. And I was like, this is gonna be a trade that works out. I know it is. I've seen it happen hundreds of times, especially when you're looking at the 1 and 5 minute, 15 minute. You see this stuff happen all the time. And this is pretty much typically, a lot of people love scalping, right? I don't scalp anymore, just for the pure fact, if I can catch a perfect entry on a 4-hour or daily time frame or 8-hour time frame, I'm just going to take that trade off of that with a perfect entry. And if I'm using
awesome.
Right, folks, I'm here at the Black Bull Markets headquarters up in Auckland, New Zealand, and I'm standing in front of their whiskey bar. Now, if you like that kind of selection, you're going to love their 26,000 tradable assets from Forex, cryptos, indices, stocks, you name it, they've got it. So, folks, go and check them out at blackbullmarkets.com or click the link under the video or in the card above.
So in the 50 moving average, you've found that is like reliable as...
That is my staple moving average. That's my favorite moving average to use. It just seems to really, really work out. But a lot of people get confused because, a lot of people would draw their trend lines from maybe up here, just a typical trend line. Obviously people go from the lows like this. For me, you might even see something like this, where right here. So you see on this area, like you could consider this for me a crisscross. So we have market rejecting here, broke through, rejected, kind of rejected, obviously broke up a little bit, rejected here, broke through, rejected, and now you have that crisscross where you have the trend line going this way, you have the area of where the market's clearly rejecting, like right in here. Market rejects, breakthrough, and take the buy off of that 50 moving average. That is what I will do nearly every time. And people are like, new people that come in, they're like, whoa, you draw your trend line so weird. To me, it's just looking at the areas of the market where the market rejects, and it's a very clear rejection point.
So do you have any solid? So do you have solid rules that you always stick to with your trend lines, like 3 touches or putting the 1 point at a high or a close or a low or something like that, or is it more just
it's honestly the area of the market where so there's usually like a support resistance on my trades normally, and if there's a trend line, like I'm looking for the areas of the market where the market just rejected the most. So it's kind of different every time, but once you really get good at spotting this, you can really start to see it. Let me show you another example here. Okay, this is another good example, right? I had yeah. So if we look right there.
So I think a lot of people fear that the trend line's going to break. This is the time it's going to break, and they're not going to, they get in the trade. It's like, oh, I've waited all this time. The trend line's finally hit, and the damn thing breaks. It fails. And I think what you're saying here is the more touches, it's actually the stronger in a way. Is
Absolutely.
that right? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is the way that I look at it, right? If price action's making lower highs into a trend line, you're more likely going to see the market break that trend line if it does do that. If price is not making lower highs, kind of moving sideways, we're more likely to see the market reject that trend line. Now, for me, like for an example on this one, this is daily time frame, obviously. We have, there we go. So obviously we had a massive wick right here, but it did close right here. We have rejection, rejection, rejection. So when it comes down to this, especially when we have the rejection right here, and it comes right down to that area, and you could even do it for like this, right? Let's see. I guess that's not a great example, but I'm always messing around with my trend lines to see where's the best area. Sometimes, it's like, oh, okay, I maybe see a trend line, and then I don't, and then I'll just kind of play around with my trend line a little bit more, and you'll find that area where you're like, oh wow, okay, so we have that crisscross right here, clearly market rejected, and kind of just one of those trades. I'm sure on the lower time frames, yeah, we had a massive shark fin right on this trade. And actually, this is a trade that I called. As you can see, I still have my alert there for that specific reason. And then we just take this. So I took this one off of the 4-hour time frame, took it right up to that 50 moving average. And on that 50 moving average, you can see that the market rejected because we got a rejection here, came right back up to that retest, rejected a little bit. But that's, like for me, my eyes are going boom right there. Market rejected here as well. You can kind of do that throughout this whole little thing. So these rejections.
This was you can replicate this as well. I.e., I know you told me before the show that you'd met somebody at the FX Summit, and they've then taken this on, and in fact, it seems to be doing almost better than you, which is very hard to do because you're at like almost 100% win rate.
Yeah.
So it can be learned, right?
Yes, and he's absolutely insane. Like, I'm the only one that took the loss, right? He's just calling these trades that are like, and it's perfect. He'll come to me, he'll ask me about a specific trade maybe, and if I'll be like, yeah, that's awesome, and it's exactly what I would see in the market. So it just makes me so happy. It makes it so much easier for the group because I trust him so much because he trades exactly the same way as me, and the people are just loving it. They love him. They might love him more than they love me, honestly.
I should get him on the show. Actually, I should
you really
get
should.
With him. Yeah,
you really should. He would love that. He's a great guy, and he would like that for sure.
Okay, chuck it in the comments, folks, if you want me to get Derek's prodigy on the show, and we'll get him on for an interview and learn a bit from him as well. Hey, look, have you got some more to share on this, or is it?
Yeah, I can let me do one more just for an example. Let's go to the daily on US 30. So here, this is another one of those where you get that retest off that moving average. This is US 30. So we obviously have rejection right here as well, comes back down. We have these moving averages with us. So this would have been unfortunately, we didn't catch this one, but this would have been one that was super nice. And then you can look at the crisscross right there. So rejection, broke through, rejected, and now we're right there with that crisscross where it comes off that moving average. And man, those crisscrosses, They work out like crazy. They really do. It's pretty awesome. I'd take this trade to the previous high in here if I would have seen it. But
it's funny, I've seen the crisscross before, but I've never actually had a name to call it. And
yeah,
now I've got it. And sort of now you mentioned it, I can actually go, okay, well, it's a crisscross, and it's probably going to make things even better. Whereas before I was like, I don't know if they're better or not. So
yeah,
awesome.
right. Yeah, it's fun. And then, you can always throw fibs in there. A lot of times it will be off a fib as well. So it's just really one of those things. And on the lower time frames, there's usually, if we look, there's usually like a shark fin that goes with it, which makes it even that much better.
So when you were looking at taking a trade, will you quickly scroll through the lower time frames or a bunch of time frames at that area just to see if there's more confluence?
Yep, exactly. So maybe there's a really good, maybe it looks really nice on like the 4-hour time frame. That will be what I take my trade off of. Like if it's a beautiful shark fin, like off the 4-hour in this area of confluence, I'll take my trade based on that 4-hour. And that's just, I can even look at the charts right here and see that we have, if we look right here, you see market rejected right here, came back to that 50 moving average and just skyrocketed.
And when like in that case there where it hasn't quite hit the trend line, does that factor in for you, or are you like, I'm happy that it's, maybe I've drawn my trend line slightly off? Or
I would consider this, I could finagle it a little bit, and I would consider that a trend line touch. So, there is times where we do miss trades. We're very patient with our trades, and we do it on purpose just because we want to see something happen. And if it doesn't happen, we don't take the trade. So there will be times, we do miss trades.
And from a stop loss point of view, if you say, like, I can see there's like a, turning point below that entry there, would you, if that was like, say, if your 3-to-1 was going to keep you above that level, just, I think it's on the 200 there, would you consider like moving it just below the level and go, okay, well, this one might be a 2.5-to-1 instead? Or would you go, well, it's not worth it, I'm just not going to take the trade?
Yeah. So typically the areas where we take trades on, it's meant to turn at that area. There will be times where, I mean, it hasn't happened in the last few months, but there will be the times where, it might break a little bit below it. And there's a lot of times where I don't let it hit my stop loss. I'm just wrong in my trade, and we close out with a very, very small loss. And then there's other times where it's like, okay, this might not cross. It might not reject here. It might reject, and maybe I missed the trend line by a little bit. I'll say, hey, if it comes down to this area, we're going to take another entry, and we'll take that entry, and then it will reverse on that trend line. Sometimes I'm off by a little bit. I mean, it's trading, you're never 100% perfect. But there's definitely some times where there's areas where it breaks through a certain trend line just a little bit, and then I realize that, oh, wow, there's a trend line that's pretty close to below it, and we'll see if it breaks that. I'll typically call out for another buy or sell off of that area, and so we'll have 2 positions in, and that's it seems to work out really nicely.
Awesome. Brilliant. Have you got any more before we wrap up and have a look at this MyFX book?
Let me see here. I mean, I'm sure I do. I mean, you can kind of see right here, market just, oh, here we go. Let's look right here. So I would go from here, right there. You could take this buy to that 50 moving average, and I'm sure on another time frame, it was probably a divergence, but typically it's just, taking these trades with confluence off of these trend lines. Usually on a certain time frame, there's a shark fin or divergence or hidden divergence, and we'll just take those trades.
Well, folks, if you're not excited about Trendlines by now, I mean, I sure am. This is fantastic, Derek. Right. So what we're going to do, Derek's going to flick me his MyFX book. We're going to put a screenshot up here, and I don't know if there'll be a link to it under the show notes or whatever, but we're going to do that right now.
Okay.
And now we're going to wrap the show up here. So, Derek, how can people find out more? What's the best way for them to jump on board with this?
So you can obviously follow me on Instagram, Derek, DEREK _Vandy, VANDY. Tradersociety.com is my website, and my YouTube. If you look up YouTube, Derek Vandy, you'll find me. And it's got my course on it. It's getting updated right now because I've added some things. Pretty much the same, but there's just even more confluences that I'm adding. And then I'm added, what setup's good, what's an A+ setup, what's a B setup, what's a C setup, just what to look for in those types of situations.
Brilliant. Yeah, and folks, like Derek's YouTube has got literally a full course on everything he's doing and shown here. So well worth going and checking out. I watched it, I think, a year or so ago. So I expect it's gone on from there. So thank you very much once again, Derek, for coming on the show. Folks, whilst you're looking for these links, what I'm going to do is put a link to Derek's show notes under there. Click on that. All those links will be in there. Whilst you're clicking on around down there, hit the subscribe, like, and notifications bell, and we'll see you in the next video. Tired of missing trades or spending hours at the charts? Introducing my Robot Builders Club. With our platform, you can build bots in minutes, not weeks, without any coding required. Get lifetime access to my video course, VIP community, and over 40 ready-made robots. Works with MT4 or MT5, and as a bonus, you'll get 3 months access to my robot lab, where we build and test bots on live calls every week. Join the hundreds of traders who are trading smarter, not harder. Click the link in the description to learn more, get the free training, and download a free robot.